9 and 2.
It's like life totals here. Engberg at 4. It's not hard for Blue Moon to close from there. Looks like we do have a thing out of the ice, the transformed Awoken Horror there.
Yeah, with Jace on 4, that might have been enough to get the gun done. Colin has that 7-8, Jace on 4, suspended Ancestral Visions at 13 life. Against Michael Engberg's 4 life, he's got a Liliana the Last Hope, but it looks like he is on the ropes for this first game.
Yeah, everything on the table looks like an advantage for our Blue Moon player.
Yeah, and that's going to be the end of the first game, so we're going to catch both sideboarded games, or one or both of the sideboarded games in this match.
All of the sideboarded games.
Just 2 Tarmogoyf decks in day 2 here. There's 1 Jund deck, 1 Obzon deck. So some matchups that Colin would have hoped to avoid, but so far, so good. He's actually up 1-0 here.
Yeah, if you're able to carve out a position where you resolve Jace the Mind Sculptor, even against 1 Tarmogoyf, you buy a good amount of time there. You can use your -1, get it off the table. And you saw there was Transformed Awoken Horror. If there's no Fatal Push for that, no Abrupt Decay, what have you, that card has tremendous closing speed.
So when your opponent starts playing things like 4 main deck Thing in the Ices, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the Obzon deck. You know, Michael has 2 Abrupt Decay, 3 Path to Exile, 3 Fatal Push. I wonder how much of that he actually wants to keep in.
The Abrupt Decays are safe because there's Blood Moons that are probably sticking around. But you're right. The rest of that stuff you don't want to leave in too many of. He does have access to a Maelstrom Pulse. It's another one that's pretty safe. It also solves Jace the Mind Sculptor. So you like that. But then it's just a question of how much of this removal can I really leave in. I assume that we're keeping in Fatal Push over Path to Exile. You don't want to ever Path to Exile a Snapcaster Mage. But how many is a real question.
And Colin's deck list, I do want to go over some aspects of it. Lighter on the Blood Moons than we normally see, just 2 copies in the main deck and no extras in the sideboard. He's got some real traditional control cards in greater numbers than I'd expect. 2 Ancestral Visions main, a full 3 Remands in the main. That's a lot of real just like blue mage style cards. We normally see them in some number, but not this heavy.
Yeah, and this is a configuration close to the decks. You know, when I worked on Blue Moon a good amount when Jace the Mind Sculptor was unbanned. Okay. The elements that I liked were being exactly at 2 Blood Moons. Drawing too many is horrendous. There's matchups where it's not even good. So I like being lean there. And Remand is about the best counter spell to curve into Blood Moon, because you can replace your draw, makes you more likely to find your Blood Moon, and makes it harder for your opponents to cast their spells when you remand into Blood Moon.
Right. We've seen a lot of other decks move away from Remand, and I think it's interesting that Colin actually is all the way up on 3 copies still.
Yeah, specifically this is the deck that gets rewarded the most for Remand. It also synergizes really well with Thing in the Ice. It's a spell that cantrips.
Right, so lets you just kind of continue to hit that massive 4 spells.
Yep.
If you haven't had a chance to go over to StarCityGames.com, you still have about 12 more hours to look at our weekly sale. We've been having up to 20% off select Modern singles all week long. You can pick up some of those last cards for your Modern deck over at our store. So stop and by, make sure to do that. And next Monday, we start next week. We have a different sale every week. StarCityGames.com/weekly sale.
You can pick up Ancestral Visions, and you too could play Blue Moon.
You know, actually, Blue Moon seems fun. I mean,
it's fun when you're winning.
I like decks that start with 8 basic islands.
For my money, there's not a lot of decks that are fun to play when you're losing, and control decks are universally miserable to play when you're losing.
Yeah, your opponent just does things and you don't.
Right. It's like, oh, I am losing, and none of my spells are cool or interesting. They're all Doomblades.
Oh, wow. What's not interesting about a Doomblade?
It's interesting when you're winning.
Yeah. I always think the fun cards in control decks are the draw spells, and then the Doomblades are just the other spells. I get excited about the card draw.
I get excited about certain card draw. Nothing's really ever excited me about Serum Visions.
Yeah, that's like a cantrip. Actually, no, Serum Visions is really exciting. I really enjoy playing that card.
You're the only one.
It's great. You just like gain information.
You gain the information that of the 3 cards on top of your deck, the top one was the worst one.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out what you can do if you can maybe draw a good one next turn.
You establish an information advantage on your opponent.
I have seen more of my cards.
Yeah. What do you want to concede yet? I know where more cards are than you do. I will make slightly better informed decisions.
Well, if you use the information properly, Serum Vision doesn't help you use the information.
Okay, yeah, that's true. If I scry and then forget how I scried, then it's just a really bad card.
I'm not going to say I've never done that. In fact, I'm just going to outright say I have scried cards and just kind of forgotten where they ended up.
If you have a bad memory, Serum Visions really loses a lot of its value.
There's like a judge call, and I'm just like, oh, what was even happening in this game?
Looks like 7 cards each. This for game number 2. Michael starting off on Temple Garden. This is a 4 Mishra's Bauble build of Obzon, so 4 Grim Flayers as well.
Makes it easier to assemble threats that get out of the lightning bolt range.
He's got a Grim Flayer here, and looks like we'll see that established early on by Michael. Kind of expect this to get removed.
Yeah, I would expect a lightning bolt or something like that. Depending on the context of the hand, it makes sense to jam Grim Flayer specifically in the lightning bolt. If you had a Tarmogoyf, I think kind of no matter what was happening, you would hang on to that one.
Yeah, if Grim Flayer getting bolted is part of the deck. I don't want my Tarmogoyf to get lightning bolted. That feels real bad.
Right. And just the upside of untapping with Grim Flayer, if it doesn't get bolted, is just higher than untapping with the 1/2 Tarmogoyf. Like, that doesn't really amount to very much.
Yeah, what I like here is that if the Grim Flayer gets removed, then we'll have 3 card types in the graveyard, and it will be safe for Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
These early turns can be rough from the Blue Moon side, especially on the draw like this.
And, once you get to a phase where you're casting Cryptic Commands and Jace the Mind Sculptors, things are pretty smooth sailing. It's getting through these early green creatures and discard spells, and, there was no check for a discard spell on turn 1. And here's just a Grim Flayer getting lightning bolted.
Yeah, and that's actually on end step, so it's a fetch into shock. Colin goes to 17. This will leave up the mana to possibly remand the next play, though, from Michael. So a good win there for Colin. And actually just play Thing in the Ice. He'll tap out and let Michael trade threats.
Now, the worst possible here would be a Liliana of the Veil.
Yeah.
We have 3 copies in Engberg's
He drew it for the turn.
That's pretty devastating, honestly.
Blooming Marsh, and there's Liliana, -2.
I guess, we were talking about safe answers to Thing in the Ice to leave in the deck. Here's a real safe one.
Yeah, all upside. You still have a Planeswalker.
Right.
I love it. So, Michael, with the answer, we'll see how Colin fights back. An Electrolyze would be decent here.
Yep, it's not bad, though it just kind of undoes the bad thing that's already happened.
And Colin has it, so... he draws a card back, so then this ends up being a 1-for-1.
What you really don't want to see if you're calling Chilvbert is 2 Tarmogoyfs here.
Yes. Now, Colin can make 1. He has a copy of Traverse the Ulvenwald in his hand, and now that there's a Planeswalker in the graveyard, Delirium is online.
Is that more than 3 types? Planeswalker,
no.
land?
I was counting it like it was a Tarmogoyf because Colin has the instant, but that's not how that works.
Yeah, not quite. I've been thinking about Delirium a
right?
lot.
Yeah.
It's an element of a cube I've been working on.
Right, Tarmogoyf cares about both. Anyway. Maybe we'll Thought Seize him first, and then we'll cast Traverse.
You can Traverse into land into Traverse because that's a 4th card type.
All right, so you cast Traverse. This one has to find a land.
A basic land at that.
The next one's live.
Right.
Finds his basic plains.
Does he have forests and swamps? Can we have,
Can we get something
can we
else?
have picked a different basic land?
Well, we could have. We're choosing to get plains.
Yeah, suggesting there's probably Path to Exile plus Lingering Souls in the hand, a turn where you actually want multiple white mana. Is there a Gideon Ally Ascendikar in the 75 there? There's one in the sideboard. That card's a big deal in the matchup.
And Lingering Souls is the follow-up play for Michael Engberg. So 2 Spirit tokens. And we'll pass back over to Chilvbert.
Yeah, if I'm Chilvbert, that's definitely the card that I'm thinking of immediately is Gideon Ally of Zendikar, just because Plains is a fair amount worse than Forest and Swamp in the deck.
And Jace the Mind Sculptor. Colin's going to play this on a board where it's safe, only can be attacked for 2. So we'll likely then see a Brainstorm. Actually, we see any of the 3 modes are safe here.
Yeah. Bouncing seems like the least value. I like Brainstorm. A card in your hand is likely worth more than a 1/1 flyer, especially because you're an Electrolyze deck. You have Snapcaster Mages for the Electrolyze already in your graveyard.
Yeah, and that's a pretty safe play. I agree.
Yeah, 2 copies of Electrolyze. So there is one more hanging out somewhere in the deck.
Remember, this is a Blood Moon deck as well, so there's some pressure on Michael to find some basics. Right now, he only has the plains.
Yeah, that much is true.
Yeah, needs to be wary about, especially once Colin starts seeing a lot of cards like this. You got to have Blood Moon on your mind.
Right.
2 back for Chilvbert. Bang, we go over to Engberg. Life totals both still high here.
I think for Engberg, part of the fetching for plains is also that he's drawn his other basics. There's a forest there, and I think there's a swamp in hand as well.
Ryan, you're absolutely right. That's why we found the second white mana source. It's because Gideon of Ally of Zendikar has come out of the sideboard, and now he's going to cast that one while Colin's tapped out.
This is an interesting decision point. It's probably too weak to just make an emblem, though if he goes for the -4, makes the +1/+1 emblem, the spirit tokens can solve the Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Right.
It's probably just more value to make the Knight Ally token, though.
And that's what he's going to do. Traverse now from Michael. He does have Delirium, so he can get any land or creature. Kalitas, Scavenging Ooze, Grimflare Tarmogoyf, Thrun, Fulminator Mage, Gaddock Teague, Shriekmaw, Kumbal are going to be all the choices in the 75.
Yeah, well, just kind of abstractly, without looking at the list, I was thinking Tarmogoyf, but as soon as you mentioned Thrun, I thought, yeah, that one's going to be tough for the Blue Moon deck to deal with. So it's a situation where he drums up Thrun with that Traverse. If Chilbert has Blood Moon on this turn, he can stop Thrun from happening, but then he still has to deal with the matter of the Gideon.
Yeah, he's getting mid-ranged pretty hard here. Answering Thrun and Gideon from the Blue Moon side is going to be difficult to do, even with Jason play.
Yeah, once that thing in the ice hit the bin, things got a lot worse for Chilbert.
Yeah, does he have anything like Pithing Needle that can just quickly answer a Gideon?
It looks like there's nothing of that nature. I mean, you can Cryptic Command to bounce it and try to figure some stuff out from there.
Sure. Actually, just the card Thrun looks very difficult for Blue Moon to deal with.
He's leaning pretty heavily on those thing in the ices for stuff like Thrun. And that is sort of the thing about Blue Moon. When it comes to solving the Tarmogoyf problem, all of your answers have their inherent weaknesses.
Right.
And specifically the thing in the ice plan, you saw Chilbert kind of engage in the worst possible exchange for a blue deck against a Jund deck, or Abzan deck rather. Cast a creature, get hit by Liliana of the Veil immediately.
Basic Island from Chilbert. He's drawn a lot of cards. That at this point, it's not the card advantage isn't what's holding him back. It's really just the amount of mana he has and the amount of things he has to answer.
Right.
And we'll say suspended Ancestral Visions from Colin.
Okay, so now we play the will that ever come off suspend game.
And he's left up Cryptic Command mana. We might be looking at something like some Cryptic play.
Yeah, you can buy some time, tap those creatures. Because of Cryptic Command, you probably want to spend some time zeroing your Gideon. There's a tempo play available for Colin to do something like tap all creatures Engberg controls and bounce the Gideon. That way there won't be Gideon plus threat on the following turn.
Okay.
Depending on what's in Chilbert's hand, that could very realistically be the line. And because of that, and Engberg recognizes it, he zeroes the Gideon pre-combat, and I like that a lot.
Right. He makes a Night token, then says go to attack. So now we'll see the Cryptic Command from Chilbert. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That was the correct play from Michael, and seeing that was really strong.
Yes.
Tap the team and draw a card are the modes from Chilbert. So there won't be any attacks, but now Michael has a window to get that Thrun into play. And there's a third kind of basic. So he's got some good Blood Moon insurance. Those are all the basics actually in his deck.
3 points of domain.
And we're going to see Gaddock Teague from Michael.
That will make such Cryptic Commands shenanigans no longer available. Gonna need to Lightning Bolt that one first.
Thrun is the last card in his hand. He chose not to cast it here. Maybe he's worried about some larger red sweeper.
Yeah, I guess Hour of Devastation is a card that That would clean this up. It's a card that exists. You'd have to solve the Gaddock Teague first. I don't think I've ever seen an outright devastation in Modern, but...
Yeah, I mean, it would be the sweeper that they could play,
Right.
Thing in the Ice, that's Colin's actual sweeper. He'll cast that one here.
That is a good one. If that one can survive, that pretty much solves all the problems here as long as Chilvbert makes it out with some life points.
Yeah, actually, the Thrun doesn't care either, and Chilbert's going to very quickly try to awake this horror.
It bounces everything and even just gets an easy attack on the Gideon.
So he starts trying to thaw that Thing in the Ice down to 3 counters. With all the cards he's been drawing each turn from Jace, I feel like Colin will be able to transform this almost immediately.
Right. When you have so many cantrips, it never takes too long. He's playing 4 ops, the full 4 Serum Visions. There's Lightning Bolts. He had a full grip of cards in hand going into this, and inevitably that Ancestral Vision comes off suspend as well.
And here's what we're looking at. Awoken Horror, when it transforms, return all non-horror creatures to their owner's hand. That would take care of all the tokens Michael has amassed. As you mentioned, allow him to tack down the Gideon. If this transforms, Colin should be able to, with this Jason Ancestral Visions, take control from there.
Oh, yeah.
Now, traverse the Ulfenwald from Michael. He does have Shriekmaw in his sideboard if he's brought it in.
Yeah, he will want to answer that Thing in the Ice if he can.
And there is Shriekmaw, so he's got it.
Here's an interesting question of Shriekmaw versus Remand. Do you just evoke the Shriekmaw? Because if Colin then remands your 5-mana Shriekmaw, you're just dead on the spot?
It's really interesting, right? If he does, then that you do, you're right. If you cast the Shriekmaw and it gets remanded, do you still lose?
I'm pretty sure. Like, you will get to Shriekmaw the Awoken Horror later, but you're giving up all the material you already have in the battlefield, and Jace the Mind Sculptor is still hanging out.
And that's what he's going to do. Decides he doesn't want to risk it with a remand, so he'll evoke Shriekmaw.
I do like the evoking there.
So evoke means it enters the battlefield, but then immediately must be sacrificed. So we'll see where we have priority here. We're going to Lightning Bolt down the Shriekmaw with it on the stack because he doesn't want it to get bounced here.
He will be transforming the Awoken Horror, I see.
Yep. And then he's going to opt to transform it. So Shriekmaw will die. Then, so we see Shriekmaw dies.
Yeah.
Now
important clarification there because it looked like
now he casts the opt. Yep.
Yeah, it looked like it was Lightning Bolt opt in response with the way the Shriekmaw was hanging out. But Colin says, no, the Lightning Bolt resolves. Now I'm opting.
Everything's bounced. Now the Shriekmaw trigger resolves. And now we're back into Michael's main phase. Colin resolves opt.
Now Michael has a chance to plus the Gideon and attack down the Jace.
Yeah, I do like that. Michael can recast Gaddock Teague. Can't make that Thrun. He's 1 mana short here. But yeah, take care of Jace. Recast Gaddock Teague. And Michael can pass. That army shouldn't take too long to rebuild. The Lingering Souls is still in the graveyard.
Yep.
Gideon can start making some knights again. Thrun's hanging out. A lot to like on Engberg's side.
Yeah, though for Chilbert, there are still 2 more Thing in the Ices in the deck. He has Ancestral Vision coming off suspend in 2 turns. And he still has 16 life to play with.
Yeah, and there's one of the remaining Thing in the Ice. It's right from hand. And because he's done so much card draw with Jace, he's going to be able to transform this one as well.
Right.
He's got Bolt and Cryptic already in hand. Vision's coming off suspend. This is 1-2 turns to flip.
Yeah, and when you look at the cards that were used to transform the first Thing in the Ice, most of them replace themselves with 2 Serum Visions and an opt were cast. Does not really cost you that much in the way of material.
And back to Engberg we go. Gideon pluses up to 6. Says go to attack, swings on in. Colin not ready to spend the Cryptic just yet. We will see.
Well, he has to clear the Gaddock Teague first.
Oh, good point.
he's
not allowed.
He's probably not ready. It wouldn't be a great spot for it, but yeah, just not a legal play.
And he takes 5 off the Gideon, and he bounces the Gaddock Teeg off of the Thing in the Ice. And because he blocked there, this Collective Brutality Engberg draws actually can remove Thing in the Ice.
Yeah, that block versus just throwing out one of the burn spells that you see in his hand, that's going to cost him here.
Yeah, and it's one of those things I think he just missed. You forget, like, oh, yeah, this block seemed so free, but it really isn't.
Right.
And Thing in the Ice, yeah, that's a big loss for Colin.
And from 11, that 2 life, it feels pretty inconsequential. That was not a good block.
Thrun's a play from Engberg. Colin found a Blood Moon there, but he's only got 1 Thing in the Ice left, and now at 11 life, facing down Gideon and Thrun. There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, if you could bounce the Thrun, if there was still a Thing in the Ice round, the Blood Moon would prevent Michael from casting it again. He only has 1 forest.
And the Gideon.
Right.
Well, you'd attack.
That one would be dead, but yeah,
dead. Yeah.
And the Gideon in the sense that there's no Gideon anymore.
Right.
Thing in the Ice would solve all of your problems.
And with that turn of play, I do want to start putting an eye on the clock here. Colin, I lost a lot of his percentage on that.
Yes.
And now, if we go to Game 3, there's going to be some real pressure. And more pressure on Colin's side. Engberg can really, if a draw happens here, I mean, no one wants one. Engberg can take one. Colin really can't take the draw here.
Yeah, the second draw is basically always a loss. Unless you're just really far ahead of the field, it's a loss.
Right. Gideon continues to build loyalty, and Colin will tap draw with Cryptic Command.
So that treads some water. There is still one more Thing in the Ice.
Yep, and Colin's about to get a big payoff of cards on this Ancestral Vision. But Michael has Scavenging Ooze, Remand, Harvest Pyre available for Chilbert. There's a lot of cards in his graveyard. If he wants to Harvest Pyre this away, he certainly can. He'll just actually Remand the Scavenging Ooze. Decides to cycle through Remand. It's not doing much for him at the moment.
Right. Also, I don't know if there are 2 or 3 greens. Okay, there are still 2 green sources left over.
Right.
But the recasting the Scavenging Ooze turns off one of those.
So here's Ancestral Vision from Colin. He'll draw 3 and then a 4th. Full grip. Just under 7 minutes remaining here. You can see Michael really looking at that graveyard as he's eyeing his own Scavenging Ooze.
This will make Snapcaster Mages ineffective while it remains on the battlefield, and you can start exiling your own creatures and just make it gigantic and close the game quickly that way. See Blood Moon at the front of Chilbert's hand. It's going to take a lot more than that one in this game.
Yeah, Will. Looks like he's going to start with it, though. I do like starting with Blood Moon because it will force Michael to spend that green mana.
Sure. Yeah, those are 2 non-basic lands.
Right.
And it looked like he just passed, and there was a Scavenging Ooze activation.
Okay, Samuels took care of Cryptic Command. And then still on end step, Lightning Bolt will finish off Scavenging Ooze, and Michael takes care of another Cryptic. I like the selection, though, for Michael to just get both those Cryptics out of the yard. That is the best target.
Yeah. That is a good one to flashback with Snapcaster Mage.
It looks like Colin's going to try to play to. Based on the clock, Colin had to decide whether he's going to try to win this game or a third game. Colin looks like he's chosen to go for this one.
Yeah, the game is certainly not over. He has a lot of good spells in his hand.
Yeah, agreed. Tarmogoyf from Michael. And he made a Night Token. Hits Colin down to 7.
I think that's a 5/6 or larger Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, keep it going.
Yeah, it's another bingo square for me. Another bingo. Another pair of bingos.
Player locked out. Oh, you got 4 left.
Yeah. I haven't seen a player locked out by Blood Moon just yet.
Could have happened. We're going to go. The Tarmogoyf, though, not going to resolve. We're going to see counter bounce from Chilbert. And he's actually punished Engberg a bit. He tapped his planes for the Tarmogoyf, which means he can't recast Gideon.
Yeah, that is definitely a significant stumble.
Yeah, Colin didn't see the play at first because he wouldn't have expected it.
Right.
And now we can lock the Gideon off with Blood Moon.
All right, player locked out by Blood Moon.
That's not what that means. But Gideon locked out by Blood Moon. If you had that square, I would give you that.
Gideon's a player.
Gideon's a planeswalker.
Oh.
All planeswalkers are all players are planeswalkers, but not all planeswalkers are players. It's like
I don't follow.
It's like there's a circle and there's a smaller circle inside it.
I tutored critical thinking in college, and it was the most failed class in my college. As such, I'm going to go ahead and say that your argument pertaining to categorization and logic is going to fall on enough deaf ears that I'm just going to pretend that it's wrong.
I'll allow it. Colin, Snapcaster electrolyzes away the Knight token. He goes down to 3 from Thrun. And we're not looking at Obzon really with an ability to burn out. I don't think they play enough Collective Brutality for that.
Right. Also, Collective Brutality, just a counterable spell.
Yeah. Michael will flash back these Lingering Souls. Remember, all the way back from turn 4 of the game, there's been one of those in the graveyard. Now the Electrolyze is out of Colin's graveyard as well. Looks like it might be a better board for them. Recall, we have Blood Moon in play, so Michael very limited on what he can cast in any turn. Just 3 minutes remaining here.
Yeah, Chilbert doesn't have that many islands. 4 available. He can still cast a good spread of spells, Cryptic Command plus some blue spell.
It's only half. Snapcaster Mage, Cryptic Command from Chilbert. Going to be a tap draw.
Might be a tap bounce a Snapcaster. This is his 3rd Cryptic Command being exiled, though, and there are 3 in his deck.
Goes for tap draw, but you're right. There was he thought about it.
Yeah, if there were a 4th Cryptic Command available, then the bouncing the Snapcaster starts to make a lot more sense. Yeah, looks like Relic of Regeneratus picked up for Chilbert. That doesn't do anything about Thrun. That's kind of a way to help you against Tarmogoyf. Doesn't quite do anything here. Looks like a little chatter about the new Blood Moon ruling about lands just entering as mountains.
Yep, Treetop Village just untapped because it's mountain.
Yeah, the Sacred Foundry there as well.
Michael attacked down to 14. Relic of Progenitus is the play from Colin. And another Relic. He'll tap them both and start to whittle through Michael's graveyard that way.
Currently is set up to chump block the Thrun and then either take 2 out of the Spirits or maybe as the second Electrolyze for them.
So other than playing this game to no conclusion, what's the win con for Michael? I mean, Colin, is he racing with bolts and Snapcasters? Is there a Keranos maybe in here?
The sideboard doesn't look to add any additional win conditions. It's just Jaces, those Thing in the Ices, and these Snapcaster Mages. So there's still the 4th Thing in the Ice somewhere in the deck.
Right.
I don't know how easy it is to transform anymore.
Yeah, you see Colin's kind of chumping with Snapcaster Mages for the time being. Yeah, he can find the 4th Thing in the Ice. It might take him a while to transform it. It's going to be interesting. Outside of this Thrun, Michael does not have much going on anymore.
Right, yeah, those Snapcaster Mages, they'll be able to at least chump block for some time. He can use the Relics at some point to redraw, try to find Thing in the Ice.
And that's what he'll do. He exiles the entire graveyard of each player.
If you transform Thing in the Ice, it can still convert into a game win from here.
Absolutely. And Colin will get rid of the other Relic. He only has 1 Snapcaster Mage left in his deck, so he's not losing too much by getting rid of the graveyard.
Right.
And he'll pass. Has not found the Mage yet. Back over to Michael. We will go. Another swing, a chump block from Colin, a pass. Go back over to Colin. We're going to watch that clock to see where turn 0 falls.
There's a lot of lands in Chilbert's hand, and this Blood Moon is actually turning off his Desolate Lighthouse, which would help him a lot in this spot.
Chumps away the last Snapcaster. Michael is turn 0. And a draw, and Colin doesn't have it, does he? And I want to just, yeah, he passes. Turn 2 is Michael.
I think, yeah, Chilbert not conceding this game earlier. It is still conceivable that he could have drummed up a win if he found Thing in the Ice, the 4th Thing in the Ice earlier, but he earned himself a draw by still sticking in that game.
Yeah, it's going to be a draw, and I want to take a second here to call out some really great sportsmanship on Colin Chilbert's side. If you look at the end there, we're using the Chump Block mode of Snapcaster Mage. The pace of play he did in the last minute there,
it was crisp.
It was really respectful to his opponent in the situation. I think in a lot of times there'd be a temptation as a player to play that differently, and I just want to call it Colin for not